In this video, we're going to move up to some of the higher grade topics. So we're going to still looking at equation of a straight line. We're still going to have a gradient. We're still going to have a y-intercept. But this time we've got no graph to work with. All we're going to be given is some sets of coordinates. So there's a few steps to this. This is why it's great. It's higher grade work. It's up towards a grade 7. It's not because it's any more complicated. It's because there's quite a few steps. So if you copy down the steps, which will come up on the screen next, and then we'll have got some questions together. Thanks. So our equations of straight lines that we've been doing all the way through this have always been in the format of y equals and then something x plus a number on its own. And we know that the number next to the x is our gradient. And we know that the number on its own over here is the y-intercept. That's where it crosses the y-axis. It's where we put our first dot when we're drawing the graph. In maths, we generally refer to the equation of a straight line of y equals mx plus c. Now, I have no idea why we use m and c as the letters. I've often tried to find out. If anyone can find out, please let me know. But m is always going to be the gradient of the line because it's the number next to the x, and c is the y-intercept. And sometimes in questions you'll be asked to give an answer in the format of y equals mx plus c. And all it means is it wants an equation of a straight line. So it's going to be y equals, and it might be 2x plus 4 or 3x minus 6. So it's what you already know how to do. It's just this is the mathematical formula that we use at this stage for equation of a straight line. So now we're going to have a look at some questions involving this y equals mx plus c. Please copy down the notes given above for each stage of the work that we're going to do next. So pause the video, copy them down, and then as soon as you've copied them, move on to the next part. Thanks. Okay, so the question we've been given now is written here at the top of the page. And what we're asked to do is write the equation of the line that passes through points 1, 2 and 3, 8. And we're asked to write that in the format equals y equals mx plus c. So we know it's an equation of a straight line because it's talked about y equals mx plus c. So it's going to be y equals and then a number next to x and then a number. But this time we've got no graph. We've got no chart to work with. What we could do is we could draw a chart out and write it out and draw a line through it. And we'd be able to work our way through, which when the questions involve whole numbers will work. When it involves fractions, it gets a little bit harder. But what we can do is we can actually work this out using algebra. So first thing off is that the formula for gradient is rise over run. We've covered that last time. We've got rise over run. So our gradient of our line is rise over run. And remember, this part is the gradient, the mx. This part is our y-intercept. So the steps we're going to do, we can actually work out the gradient using these coordinates because we know how much the line has gone across. It's gone across from 1 to 3, and how much the line goes up because the line has gone from 2 on the y-axis to 8 on the y-axis. So I've written out the steps here for you. Hopefully you got these copied down. So work out the change in the y coordinates first, our rise. What is our rise going to be? Well, we started at 2 and we went all the way up to 8. So our change in our y coordinates, our rise is 6 because we've gone from 2 to 8. What about the change in our x coordinates? Well, we started at 1 and we've moved across to 3. So we've moved across 2. So our gradient is 6 over 2, and 6 divided by 2 equals 3. That's the gradient of this line. So mathematically, we can work that out without drawing it. Okay? So now, instead of writing y equals mx plus c, where m, this gradient, is a mystery, we now know that it's y equals 3x plus c. Because we know that the gradient is 3, so we can substitute that number into our formula. The only difficult bit now is we've now got to work out what this c figure is. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to pick a pair of coordinates. I'm going to pick 3 and 8. So it really doesn't matter which ones you pick. Now, so the coordinates that I've picked are 3, 8. And that is an x coordinate, and that is a y coordinate. And we know that from our coordinates. If we look at our equation here, we have a y and an x in it. And we can use these numbers into this formula. So I'm going to use a couple of different colours just to try and make it a little bit easier. So instead of y equals, our y figure is 8. So instead of y, I'm going to write 8 equals, and I always use brackets here. We know the gradient is 3, and it should be 3 times x, but we're going to use 3 times, and here our x coordinate is 3. Plus c. So what we've done is we've put our y coordinate where y goes in the formula, and we've put our x where our x coordinates goes in. So what we're doing is we're substituting numbers. Okay, let's try and solve this out for c. So to solve for c, we're just going to try and get c in its own. So let's rewrite this out again. So we know that a equals, and 3 times 3 is 9, plus c. How do I get c on its own? I'm going to subtract 9 from this side. I'm going to subtract 9 from this side. So now 8 subtract 9 is -1, equals 9 subtract 9 is nothing, equals c. So we now know that this c figure up here is -1. So we can now write the full equation because we know the gradient and we now know the c figure. So the equation of the line that connects point 1, 2 to 3, 8 is y equals 3x minus 1. I'm going to put another practice question up on the screen now for you to try. Please write the question down, pause the video, and then we'll go through the worked examples. Okay, so the question this time is, can you write the equation of a line that passes through 3, 4 and 6, 19 in the format of y equals mx plus c. So if you pause the video now, have a go at the question, and then I'll work through the answers. Okay, so we've got our equation, we've got our coordinates here, and we know that that's an x coordinate, and that's a y coordinate, that's an x coordinate, and that's a y coordinate. When answering these questions, sometimes I write that underneath, it just stops me getting confused later on. So we want to work out rise over run, we want to work out the gradient of this line. We know it's in the format of y equals mx plus c. We know that m is the gradient, so that's what we can work out. Well, our rise, how much has our y coordinate changed? It's gone up by 15 because we've gone from 4 all the way up to 19, so it's quite a steep line. And our x coordinate, our run, has gone from 3 to 6. So it's only moved across 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So our gradient is 5. We can now put that into our formula. So instead of y equals mx plus c, it's y equals 5x plus c, because we know that that gradient is 5, so it goes where the m is, y equals 5x plus c. Now we're going to pick either set of coordinates. I'm going to pick the first set because the numbers look a bit easier. So our coordinates that we're going to use are 3, 4. Remembering that is an x coordinate and that is a y coordinate. So we're now going to put these values into our formula. So y is 4, so it's 4 equals, and then it's 5 times x, so 5 times 3 plus c. Okay, so 4 equals 15 plus c. How do we get c to be on its own? We're going to subtract 15 from this side. And if we subtract 15 from that side, we have to do exactly the same on the other side. So minus 11 equals c. Our last step now is to put all of this information together. We now know our C value, we know our gradient. So the equation of this line in the format y equals mx plus c is y equals 5x minus 11. Now please have a go at this questions on Sparks. Thanks. Thanks for watching the videos. I hope they've helped. Please have a go at the questions on Sparks. This is higher grade work. It's getting up towards sort of grade 7, and then we're going to take it on to grade 8 and grade 9 next week. If you get stuck, please message me on Teams, email me, call me, comment on Google Classroom. So if you are stuck, please give us a shout and we'll be happy to help. Thanks. Have a great week.